you got. Don't sweat it. I tell you at the top. Work with what you got. Don't forget it.
Hello, I'm David Stringer from Insignia Group. Welcome to Next Up Accessories, where we connect your next up and vehicle personalization to help you make more money and happier customers. What is vehicle personalization? That's a process in your showroom where you present customization to your buyer. It's a proven methodology to increase your paycheck, give customers what they want, and skyrocket your CSI scores. For more information about vehicle personalization, check out our website, insigniagroup.com. If you're a current customer of Insignia, thank you for your business, and you aren't reading our blogs, shame on you. They are full of best practices. Click through our website and subscribe, or find us on social media and start a conversation with us. All right, team, are we ready? This is our second podcast.
Yes.
All right, calling out to my team there. All right, today we're joined by special guest Jeff Teague, also known as Toyota Jeff of Fred Anderson Toyota in Raleigh, North Carolina. Jeff has been with Fred Anderson for 13 years, and not only is he an amazing salesman, he also has a very popular YouTube channel called Toyota Jeff in Raleigh. Raleigh. I added the echo there. Just sounds like it needs to have a monster truck rally echo to it. He's got 19,000 subscribers. What? That's crazy. Worldwide. And his videos get 1,000 views a day, or over 1,000 views a day. And they're pretty funny. So, why does a guy in Raleigh who sells cars have a YouTube channel with 19,000 subscribers? Well, it's because it works. People are traveling from other states just to buy a car from him. And he loves personalization, which means we love Jeff. All the more reasons we wanted to have him on the show today.
In a world overrun by millions of YouTube channels, one man fights to stand out.
I'm going to help you decide which model and which trim level of Camry is best for you and your family.
He also strives to entertain, mixing Toyotas with funny pop culture parodies.
Get in the DeLorean, Jeff. We've got to go back to the future. I'm worried about your kids. Doc, that's not a DeLorean. It's a Prius. Great Scott!
No movie, TV show, or song is safe. One man, one world, your ultimate Toyota resource. Toyota Jeff. Subscribe today.
Toyota Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's exciting to be here. This is great.
Cool, man. Well, we do really appreciate you taking your time out today from your videos and selling cars like hotcakes. So why don't you give a little brief introduction to our audience of who you are and how you came into the car business?
Yeah, no problem at all. I'm Jeff Teague. I'm originally from Michigan. Spent most of my life there. I went to school at Western Michigan. Go Broncos, holla. And then I had exactly. That's one of the things I'm known for. People think it's cheesy, but they remember it. But anyway, I went for a marketing degree, initially accounting, but then I realized I did not want numbers. I wanted to be around people. And sales, marketing, creativity, advertising, it's also one of my hobbies, so I think it lends itself very nicely to working with people when you're selling them very expensive things. I used to sell orthopedic instruments. I used to sell pharmaceuticals. And I'll be darned if I didn't end up in the car business.
So how did you end up in the car business? I mean, what was that story that put you on the sales floor?
Well, actually, I've been with Fred Anderson for 13 years, going on 14. It's a fantastic dealership. But I didn't want to do car sales. That's not anything I ever even thought about doing. In fact, it was one of my things that I told myself, I'll do sales, but I will never, ever sell cars. And yet I talked to you from Fred Anderson Toyota, ironically enough. To me, this was literally just one of those stories. And everybody who has done car sales, and I think we can all appreciate this and kind of empathize and kind of get together and rally over our stories of how we joined the car business. It wasn't because I wanted to join the car business. To me, it was one of the things where the pharmaceutical company I was working with, they literally downsized 90% of their sales force by a sales conference. And it was one of those things where they said, if you pack it in the mail, do not go out in the field tomorrow because you're not working for us anymore. So they literally laid off 90% of the sales force. And anybody involved with pharmaceutical sales knows that it's very, very volatile right now. And that's one of the pitfalls. So I thought, well, I will do car sales for this gigantic, huge, it's like the Taj Mahal. If you've ever seen a picture of Fred Anderson Toyota, feel free to Google it.
Oh, yeah,
it literally looks like the Taj Mahal compared to any other dealership you've ever seen. It's giant.
Yeah, I've been there.
And-
That's a
and you
that's
know-
that's a heck of
yeah.
a service drive when you pull up in that dealership. You're just impressed by the enormous service entrance that you have there. So, yeah, I've been
Yeah, it looks like an airport terminal. It's very unusual. There's not the typical waiting room with one small little TV and 6 chairs where you're awkwardly not talking to the person next to you because you're all like within 3 feet of each other. It's amazing, and I'm so proud to work for the dealership. But like I said, I did not want to do car sales. It was literally supposed to be a stopgap, and I'll be darned if I didn't find out that I really enjoy it. I love helping people make very, very expensive decisions and celebrate it, not to have remorse about it. Time flies, and I found that I can use my marketing and creativity skills to kind of feed into what I do as well. So it's been great. It's a very, very good relationship I have.
That's awesome. So that's a great place to dive into the fact that you have started this YouTube channel. And the first thing out of the gate for me when we started talking and getting to know each other a little bit was that the fact that your dealer principal, your management is okay with this, because I could see the typical corporate response to something like this is, no, this is what we should be doing, and we just want you to be out there on the floor selling cars and making customers happy. We'll take care of doing funny commercials or funny viral videos. I mean, did you start this simply on your own, and then was it like one day you surprised your dealer with, hey, so by the way, I mean, kind of talk me through how that all came about.
It's kind of funny, the evolution of this whole thing. It started off as kind of a joke between me and my kids. They're 21 and 19 now, Zach and Abby. But originally, I see them watching their YouTube channels like zombies, just like every other millennial and young person. And they watch their makeup tips and their gaming things. And I thought, well, gosh, I can do that kind of thing, because at the time, and I've had the YouTube channel for about 5 years, there were no interesting YouTube channels. There were no car review YouTube channels. People didn't do what I'm doing now. So that was one thing where I thought I could definitely find my little place in the world. But also, I started it because I wanted to set myself apart. When I did training, and a lot of the salespeople listening to the podcast now, they can relate to this. You get thrown stats and figures and all this kind of stuff, and it's supposed to just dazzle you and wow you and welcome you into the car industry. The only statistic I remember is that 81% of customers that you sell a car to, 1 year later, they will have no clue who sold them a car. And I'm sure a lot of you can attest to that, because when you find out that a customer that you sold, let's say 3 years ago, why did they not ask for you? Why did they work with your buddy over here? And most of the time it's like, I greet these people. Sometimes they said, yeah, I bought a car here. Who was your salesperson? I don't know. And I wanted to change all that, because I think people can be memorable. I mean, we work so hard at our jobs, and we all do. It's like we're like the James Browns of any type of sales industry. When you do car sales, you work so hard, such long hours. How dare you give away your own repeat and referral business? I mean, that's our responsibility to help customers remember us. And I found one creative way to do that.
That's awesome. Yeah,
I'm not going to. Yeah.
I can't remember the last person that sold me a car. I bought a VW, Passat, and I somewhat remember the finance guy, but I couldn't tell you who the salesperson was. So I'm you know what? Statistic.
Yeah, and your VW salesperson would be devastated to know that, but it's a fact of life. As a matter of fact, if that statistic was thrown at me 13 years ago, can you imagine how high that statistic is now? It's probably closer to 90%.
Right.
Because we can't even remember our own passcodes on anything that we have in life, because we've got 15 different passwords and passcodes and PIN numbers. How in the world do people have time in their brains to pull that out, who they bought a car from? I mean, that's... us, it's the most important thing in the world, but to them, that's so low priority. Now, who was that person? So we got to flip that.
The other thought I had there, and it was sort of a snarky thought, and I maybe shouldn't say it out loud. The snarky thought was, if the guy's even still there, because of the churn at dealerships, my salesperson may not be there a year ago, who I bought the car from. So
yeah,
and
that's true. That's
from 13 years ago to today, the churn is even a lot higher. So not only does the customer not remember, the salesperson may or may not still be there. So it makes all the sense of what you're doing in terms of creating that memorable person that you're buying the car from. So are you saying then that it was this clairvoyant, amazing forethought that you had beyond the joke with your kids, that you wanted to be memorable?
I just wanted to set myself apart, and I really didn't know how to do that. It started off, see, my true love is to do the cheesiest, funniest, dorkiest videos you've ever seen in your whole life. I'm obsessed with pop culture, so if you throw like an 80s movie reference at me, I'm all over it. I can finish the line for you, or I know the person's next line. I know movies, I know music, and that's what we call worthless trivia in life. We all know that, and we all know these statistics that nobody else cares about, but we cannot wait to jump out with this statistic like, wow, did you know that so-and-so? They're like, I don't care about that, but you're so proud of yourself because you know this trivia. Well, me, I thought, well, I'm going to do funny videos, and ironically enough, over the past 5 years, I've learned that people would rather see an interesting review on a Corolla than they would rather see my Back to the Future parody, which me, I'm so proud of it. I think this is going to win for some sort of an award. You know, I've managed to completely mock and parody Matthew McConaughey driving in a car talking nonsense while I review a Prius, but yet that might be a video to me that gets 500 to 1,000 views, but yet my comparison of a RAV4 versus a competitor will get 200,000 views. It's so funny to me, and it hits me right in the heart because I want people to love my funny, cheesy videos. That's how I started the whole channel. And it wasn't until I started building value in car comparisons, car reviews, where I was actually helping people buy cars from their cell phones, from their homes while they're watching these. And I found that I can influence people in a good, positive way while they're doing their car shopping. That helps relieve some of the stress of car buying too. But believe me, I wish I could do 100% funny, cheesy, stupid videos. That's my passion.
Well, you said it
people
there.
don't watch them.
You said it there. Build value. I mean, you've obviously discovered that secret sauce to getting folks to really tune in and even share. Probably you got the 200,000 because somebody shared it and somebody else shared it, and and then it goes like that. Versus somebody watched your parody, laughed, but then didn't share it. So yeah, that's probably the building of the value. That's awesome. That's
yeah, and one of the things. No, you nailed it there, David. One of the things about YouTube that's so interesting to me is it's not an overnight success type of thing. So you have to be the world's most patient person. You have to be the Job of the car business or whatever industry you want to be in. You have to be incredibly patient because you're not going to get 19,000, 20,000, 100,000 subscribers within a month, and everybody expects they're going to do that. It doesn't happen that way unless you're just like a fluke almost, or you've just found some sort of a secret audience and somehow tapped into it. This was my baby for 4 years, and I literally was excited when I would get 10 new subscribers a day. It was so exciting for me, like, wow, I got up to 700 subscribers, and I tell my kids, I said, hey, I'm a YouTuber now. I got 1,000 subscribers, and they just rolled their eyes and said, Dad, you're not a YouTuber. You have 1,000 subscribers. And they said, come back when you have 2,500. So it's funny how we work with our kids. That was my new goal. I'm like, I'm going to show them. I'm going to get 2,500 subscribers. So then I got to 2,500. I said, guess what, guys? I'm a YouTuber. And they said, Dad, seriously? You got to get to 5,000 to be. I'm like, what is this? You're raising the bar on me constantly. And it's really interesting because it's a game we play. And they've stopped asking how many subscribers I have once I got to 15,000, I think. Because I think they realized that this has some sort of a notoriety to it. And I think they're starting to warm up to the idea that I might be here to stay on social media.
Yeah, they just don't want to say it out loud, and you should make them say it out loud and record it and then make them Snapchat it out to their group that you, Jeff, are a YouTuber.
Yes,
Dad,
exactly.
I have to tell you, you're finally a YouTuber. That's funny. That's awesome. So again, let's go back though, because I still am caught up with the idea that you walk in, even a year after you started posting these, and what did your boss say? What did the general manager say? I mean, Mr. Fred Anderson up there somewhere. What did the corporate say about you doing these? These videos. Did you run into any interference from the from the upper management?
That's a great question, and I did just realize I needed to double back and answer that question a little bit more completely. But this is one of those things where I don't want to say I did it on the fly, but I really did do it on the fly because I didn't know how they were going to feel about it. And to me, it was one of those things that it was worth the chance because, number one, I go completely against the company philosophy. Fred Anderson Toyota has one of the highest reputable, reputations you can say in the car business, and they're the family store, and their advertising is, you can trust us, we're genuine, look at our reputation, look at how long we've been here. And then you've got me, I come out with a Chariots of Fire parody, followed by the world's best video of all time, in my mind. It's called Matchmaker, and it's the Bachelor parody where a young lady is on the car lot, and it's the finale of the show. She's trying to decide on true love, and she's narrowed it down to two different people, and all you hear is voiceovers with people driving. And if you've ever seen the show, they're driving to the finale where they're going to see their fate. And it turns out she's choosing the car of her dreams, not the person.
Corolla, will you accept these keys? You've made this simple and easy. We're going to be so happy together.
Come see me, Jeff Teague, at Fred Anderson Toyota and find your perfect match.
Nice.
I thought I was so clever, and I was so excited that I got 1,000 views on that. It was great, and it really didn't have much of an effect on my business at all. But I kept doing those. I stuck with it, and then next thing I know, I would do a video about this is how cruise control works. This is how vehicle stability control works. And I'll be darned if I didn't pick up a few more subscribers and more subscribers. So anyway, once I got to, I'd say, maybe 5,000 subscribers or so, my manager started to notice, and they would actually have customers come in asking to speak with me. They would come in the service lane like, I don't know how to work my radio system, but I saw a video by a guy, Jeff Teague, at Europe. Is he here? I want him to show me. And so it got to be something where our general manager, Andy, he's actually very proud of it, and I wish he wouldn't, but he brags about it in the sales meeting, and I'm sure my colleagues roll their eyes at that. They'll say, wow, Jeff's got 14,000 subscribers, and, as a colleague of somebody they're talking about, the last thing you want to do is hear that. So I'm just humbly quiet and like, okay, he can stop talking about my channel now. But Mr. Anderson, who's probably the nicest Southern gentleman you'll ever meet, what a successful guy, just his family's wonderful. But he actually a couple times said, what's up, Hollywood? And so that's when I thought, you know what, I've got their approval, and
that's awesome.
I'm so glad that name didn't stick. I'll just stick with just Jeff, it's fine. But yeah, he actually called me that a couple times, so I thought, well, if the big boss, if he's okay with that and he thinks it's kind of cool, then I'm okay too. So
I think you have his blessing.
It's always been, yeah.
I
think so too. But it's
Hollywood.
Yeah. I think this is probably, yeah, exactly. This is a lesson probably to all salespeople out there who are looking to kind of stand out. And everybody says, oh, well, I'm going to do what Jeff did too. And somebody probably can do that. But the one thing you have to always remember is you have to do something by the guidelines of your dealership. And if you go rogue, it might not go the way you think it's going to go. And I've seen a few people try it, and I think it's something that probably would embarrass the dealership. And if it doesn't go along with your dealership's culture, then you shouldn't be doing it. And I know that sounds like a preach, but I think you have to do something, like you said, with management's blessing. You have to do it knowing and respecting your dealership, because if you do something that's going to give a negative connotation to your dealership, or, hey, look at me, I'm here at Fred Anderson Toyota, I'm looking to do this, and you look great in that car. What would it take to get in that car today? Like, people don't like that kind of advertising anymore. They don't like that kind of image. That's stereotypical 70s car sales, and things aren't done that way anymore. People are just looking for somebody they can trust. So, you have to keep that in mind when you're starting up your social media. You can do it. The best thing anybody could do is start up a Facebook page. It's very easy to do, so simple, and then you can build a following that way. I would not jump into YouTube because it will not go instant overnight success like you think it will.
Yeah. Great point.
Yeah.
Now, let's shift it to, all of this is fun, Jeff, and you get to do fun videos, and ultimately you got the buy-in from your dealer management, and at the same time, the flip side of that coin is it's got to have a payoff. So after all these years, you see a payoff, do you not, in the business that you've been able to build I mean, it's got to ultimately result in a car sale, right? I mean, otherwise, why do all this unless you want to be an entertainer? But you're not being paid to be an entertainer. So
No, and people wouldn't pay to hear me entertain. I'm not that interesting. But it really does pay off, because what has happened, and I'd say really in the last 6 months or so, it's really taken a kind of a life of its own. It's fascinating to me, because I sit back, because I love marketing, I love psychology, so I love studying like why things happen the way they happen, why people do what they do. But the first thing I noticed, I guess that it was having some sort of an effect out there. There was a young lady, she was a college student from High Point University, about 2 hours away from me, who reached out to me through Facebook. She found me on Facebook because she had seen my YouTube video and wanted to buy a Corolla. And it was her first time buying a new car. And if there's anybody who's ever gone in, a young person trying to buy it, terrified, because they don't know the process, and they hear all these stories about car salesmen and what's the dealership going to do to get over on you, that kind of stuff. She was terrified, and she admitted that later. She's like, I was scared to death to buy a car. But she reached out to me through Facebook. So she had found my YouTube video, and then she sent me a friend request. So we were friends for a couple days. And then I looked on her page, and she had already shared the video on a Corolla that she was looking at, shared it on her page, and already had written on my Facebook, my professional Facebook page, and that kind of stuff. So when she came in, she drove 2 hours. She and I were the best friends for the next 2 hours. She felt like, I think she already knew me, and she said I was actually somebody she thought she could trust. But we really hadn't had much interaction other than social media. So isn't that fascinating? Like, who would have thought that would be something that would be revealed after the fact?
And
that social media
and you attribute that to your videos. You attribute that to your videos. The fact that she felt like she knew you already, you attribute that to your videos.
Yes, that's one thing. All car salesmen out there, we all know this. Sometimes it's very terrifying when you first meet a customer on the lot, and frankly, they're nervous too, because they are so on guard that this is going to be the worst process of all time, and it's going to be slick and sleazy, because that's the reputation that the car business gave itself. But not anymore, because there's so much information out there. People they know that they have control now, and they just want to trust you, and it's so easy to lose trust with customers, and you only have a few minutes to gain their trust. But what if they already know you before they even come in? That's how referrals work a lot of times is, oh, I know Jim. And so Jim had already said, yeah, I work with Jeff Teague at Fred Anderson, or work with Jan at Fred Anderson, or Mike. It's going to be a great experience. I had a great time. It takes a little bit of the edge off, and they start to trust you instantly, and it's a great icebreaker. So that was kind of the way it worked, is if you can already know somebody when they first come up for what we call the meet and greet, as you kind of get to know them, boy, the pressure is completely off, and they actually feel like they can trust you now. And then you can start to get right into the real meat of what they're doing there. Is they're trying to find a car that they're going to be happy with for their family, and get a great deal too. But they don't have to think, I wonder how this salesperson's going to be like. What's this dealership going to be like? Because they already know you. It's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so let's shift to our favorite topic, which is vehicle personalization or customization during the process of selling a car. So what is your philosophy on presenting accessories and selling accessories in your dealership?
Well, to me, we always feel like personalization is crucial, really, because let's say somebody buys a Camry. Well, they're looking at a Camry. It's a shell of a car, but really you're buying the shell, but you haven't made it your own yet. And so that's kind of a tagline I use all the time, is make it your own. In other words, you can personalize the car to fit your taste. You can add value to it through accessories. You can also protect it from things like rock, gravel, sand, maybe with mud guards. But that's something, if the customers don't know they can do that, and the best thing to do is to possibly start talking about that when you're going over the car. Like, you can just subtly add that in when you're talking about a Camry. So, it would be great to have mud guards on here, because imagine going down a dirty road or freshly paved or tarred road. You're going to get the bottom of it all dirty and maybe scratched up. Mud guards would complete it, and they look sharp too. So I've talked about it just a little bit, but then you really can start presenting that when you're talking about the actual deal itself. And for me, the best thing to do, I think, is that big time window between when a customer says, yes, I will buy this car, and when they go to finance, because all salespeople know that there's generally going to be a gap in time, and that's a time where customers can easily get bored, feel like they're here too long, that kind of stuff. So you've got to fill in the time with value, and why not talk about personalizing it or making it their own right there during that time?
Yep, that's perfect. let's take it back just a quick step there and go back to a question that we always hear in our business, which is, well, it's not so much a question, it's really an objection. So, hey, if I start talking about accessories too early in the car deal, then I've just set myself up to have the customer ask me to throw it in the deal. Hey, I'll take this Camry as long as you throw those mud guards in that you talked about and how wonderful they are. How many times has that happened to you? And if it does happen to you, which, I'm of the mind that it doesn't happen as often as people like to throw that objection up there. That's just a reason not to go through the process. But if it does happen to you, how do you handle that?
That's it. What do they call that? The slippery slope? Because that's very interesting. If you do talk about it so early in the process, maybe that could be something to throw in, but it could also be included as part of what we would call a trial close. Because if somebody says, I sure would buy this Camry if it only had mud guards. I mean, if the threshold is there, and most of us know what the threshold is, say, okay, well, if we could do that, then would you buy the car right now? It doesn't have to be all about price. Maybe there is value, and to them, that value would be the one thing that would get them to commit to buying a car. Maybe that's it. But the whole thing is, generally, I think accessories are kind of separate because that's more of a service department thing. And a lot of times it's not a matter of us throwing it in. It's, well, that goes through service department. I'm happy to add that in. That does add everything. It does add into the cost of it, but think of the value. So it's really about the value and personalizing. And I think there are ways around it. I mean, I've had deals where customers they're already getting ready to pick up their car. Like, hey, I got to thinking about this. Can you guys throw in all weather mats? Like, sorry, closed for business. No. But I mean, that happens anytime in there. And just, you just have to remember to stay humble and respectful of the customer. And they're just looking for the best possible deal for their family because, I mean, they've got budgets just like us. So they just need a good value and a good deal. But, part of the value of that is personalizing it. And that does have a cost, just like everything. And unfortunately, everything that goes into a car has a cost. It's not like you'd say, okay, can you throw in the steering wheel for free? I know it's a bad analogy, but everything has a cost. It just does. We all know that there's no free lunch. So, I mean, they do have to pay for those accessories, but I think it's worth the value, especially if they're keeping the car for their family for a long, long time.
Well, you're obviously speaking from 14 years of experience in the car business, and certainly that has helped you to have that confidence to say to a customer, essentially, no, and here's why no, and here's what else we can do. So it's almost, you turn it into a yes and. Sure, I could throw it in for an additional cost. And you have the confidence to deliver that message in a way that comes off clearly as a value add and as a transparent way to represent doing business together with the customer. So I think that's great. It's good to hear. And obviously, you've handled that objection beautifully because you've been able to be successful, and many of the cars that you do sell are personalized. So that's awesome. What would be something that you would say to a person who's just getting into the car business to be a car salesperson as it relates to how you have all this experience, 14 years? If the one thing that you would pass on to someone new, if you knew then what you know now, what would that look like? What would that be?
That's a great question. I think the first thing has nothing to do with what we've been talking about exactly, but you have to know, okay. you have to not be afraid of the long hours that you do have to put in because you're building a business. And I think people do have to treat it like they're running their own business. They represent their company and the company provides you with resources, but it's ultimately your responsibility whether you have repeat customers by doing a great job the first time, that you deserve to have them come back to see you the next time, or maybe tell their coworker or their grandma who's looking for an Avalon or a Chevy or something like that. You have to earn the right to do it, and the best way to do that is just by being yourself. I think customers, they work hard for their money and they want a good deal when they're looking for cars. They just want a good value, and I think they deserve to have your genuine self. I don't think the stereotypical car salesman works at all anymore. I think that should be abolished and burned because people won't buy it and they'll walk out on you. I mean, you just have to be genuine. And whether you're a funny person or you're dry or you're very businesslike, just stay true to yourself. And I know that sounds so cheesy. I mean, we're in the world of cliche right now, but just stay true to yourself.
Yeah. One of the things that to close it up here, because this has been great and really appreciate you being on the show. One of the things that as we've talked, makes me think about if I were new to the car business, or if I was trying to take that next step in my profession as a car sales professional, and maybe I can't go out tomorrow and create a YouTube channel and do the things that you're doing to introduce myself to my potential buyer. What I could do is keep it simple. And what I've noticed on, say, like LinkedIn, and I see it mostly on LinkedIn, and that is I see a lot of car sales people publishing or posting videos of themselves talking about a car, walking the lot, and now I'm going to pay a little bit more closer attention to them, because I think they're doing what you're talking about, which is introducing themselves to their future audience, their future buyer, so that they get a sense of who they are before they walk on the lot. And I think that probably the most brilliant thing that you have introduced by this whole process is you are helping that customer figure out who you are, what you're all about before they walk on the lot. So creating those, videos on Facebook, and, maybe it's not all about subscribers. Maybe it's really just putting together videos that help people see who you are, and then you can share those and either on LinkedIn or Facebook in order to help people kind of get a sense of who you are. So I think that's pretty cool. That's very cool.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, that's one of those things where, again, you talk about setting yourself apart, and not everybody can do a YouTube video, but we all have cell phones, and boy, do they have great clarity now with the pictures and the videos you can take. A very simple suggestion I have is, doesn't really have to be, it can be your own version of social media, because if a customer sends in a request looking for, let's say, a minivan, why could you not go out to the car lot, find the minivan, find that stock number, and why can't you say, "Hi, Barbara, I'm Jeff at Fred Anderson Toyota. Look what I found here. This is the exact Sienna van that you asked about here. It's great. Look at the legroom. It's smooth. It's quiet. It's comfortable. It has leather seats. It's great for your family. Would you like to talk about this?" And then whatever's special about that vehicle that you think they might enjoy, or they might appreciate, or they might find value in, why could you not film that for 30 to 45 seconds? That way they know who they're talking to. They know what you look like. They've seen the vehicle in person, and they've had their own personal walk around before they even made it up to the car lot. Maybe it will pique their interest. It will set you aside from the other 6 people who are trying to call from other dealerships.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, well, Jeff, it's been a pleasure, and want to thank you very much for joining us on our podcast. If you'd like to see more of Jeff and check out his YouTube channel, you can check that out at Toyota Jeff in Raleigh. So just search that in YouTube, and you'll find his channel. And of course, subscribe. You can be the 19,732nd at this point in time. Keep an eye out on Jeff's channel and our and our own Insignia channel, because maybe we'll do some fun, exciting projects in the future. Can't wait to see that come to fruition. So until then, I'm David Stringer, and this has been Next Up Accessories, where we connect your next up and vehicle personalization to help you make more money and happier customers. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, every deal, every day. Bye-bye.